And this video brings us to everybody's least favorite subject in math, which is dividing fractions. Now, dividing fractions, I think, is hard because a lot of people miss a few important concepts when they're first learning how to do it. So I'm going to kind of quickly go over these, and if they don't entirely make sense to you, trust me, you're not alone. I don't know if this would have made sense to me either when I was younger, but it does now, and I'm gonna try to do my best to explain it to you. So remember when I said that we can write every division problem as a fraction, right? So we've got 6 divided by 2 here. So I know you can do this in your head, and that's great, right? But we're going to write this as a fraction, all right? So we've got 6 over 2. Now, the thing I want you to think about is think about the different ways you can say this problem. Most of the time, you won't say what's 6 divided by 2. Most of the time, you'd say what's half of 2, right? What's half of 2? If you've got 6 people and you're saying, okay, half of you are going to go in this car and half of you are going to go in this car, this other car, you would do a division problem in your head. But what you're taking is you're taking 1/2 of 6. And when you take 1/2 of 6, that means you're actually doing, if you say 1/2 of 6, you're actually doing this. You're doing 1/2 times 6. So you can actually rewrite 6 over 2 as 6 times 1/2. And then if you wanted to, get tricky, you could say it's 6 over 1 times 1/2. All right, so let's kind of look and see what we did here. We started with this right here. Okay, I don't know why I did that. We started with this right here, and it morphed into this. So kind of what you did is you kept this right here, sort of how it is, and then you took this and you turned it into its reciprocal, which is 1/2. In other words, you flipped it. And then instead of being a division problem now, suddenly we have a multiplication problem. And you have just figured out the algorithm for dividing fractions. It's you keep the numerator the same, you change it from a division to a multiplication problem, and then you flip the denominator. So you're going from top to bottom and you're doing that kind of thing. And usually when you're doing these, you're going left to right, because they don't usually write division problems with fractions out as fractions because they're kind of messy. But that is what they're doing. All right, so you do that problem, and then when you solve it, you would actually kind of come back to where you started, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, right? So let's try this now, having gone through that with you. So remember, you can think of this as 3/8 over 2, right? Which would be the same thing as 3/8 times, and then you flip that, all right? So that's our keep, change, flip algorithm, all right? So let's do that. So I keep 3/8 the same. I'm going to change this multiplication, and then I'm going to flip 2 to its reciprocal, which would be 1/2. Because 2 is the same as 2 over 1. And then you just multiply straight across and just do your multiplication thing, and you get 3/16. And that's your answer. All right, so let's try a few more. -16/9 divided by 4/9. All right, so let's keep the first one, -16/9. Let's change this to a multiplication, and then let's flip this so that it's now 9/4. And this would be a good time to practice some cancellation here. So 9 and 9 cancel out because they're the same thing on the top and the bottom. And remember, you can only cancel going top and bottom, right? And then 4 goes into 16 4 times and goes into itself once. So you wind up with negative, because negative times a positive is negative, 4 over 1, which is just -4. You have your answer right there. All right, this one, well, the first thing we got to do is we got to write this thing as a fraction, all right, before we do anything. So let's write it as an improper fraction, right, not a mixed number. So I have 2 wholes, and each whole is subdivided into 4. So that means one whole would be 4, and then if you add another whole to it, you have 8. So you have 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So you have minus 9/4 divided by negative 1/2. All right, so now let's rewrite this. So we keep this how it is, all right? So negative 9/4. We're going to change that, multiply, and then we are going to flip this thing. So it's negative 2 over 1, all right, or negative 2, but we'll leave it as a fraction because we're going to be multiplying. And then you just, you multiply, okay? So we can do some cancellation on this. 2 goes into 4 2 times, goes into itself once, and then you multiply. Negative 9 times, or sorry, let's ignore the negatives. So 9 times 1 is 9, and then 2 times 1 is 2. Then you have a negative times a negative, which gives me a positive. So you have positive 9/2. All right, I think I have one more on here. Yes, I do. Great. Same deal as last time, except the mixed number is now the divisor. So we have 1/3 divided by 1 1/5. So this is saying if you take 1 and divide it into 5 parts, all right, so 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 is 6, so you have 6/5. So let's do our keep, change, flip. So negative 1/3, let's change this, multiply it, let's flip this, 5/6. All right, and then just multiply straight across. So 1 times 5 is 5, 3 times 6 is 18, and then negative times positive is a negative, and you get negative 5/18. That is simplified, and you are ready to rock. So like I said, I was going to kind of go through this a little more quickly, but I hope that little bit I did at the beginning kind of at least showed you why we do the keep, change, flip. Where did that come from? And that's kind of where it comes from. So hope this helps.